You've always felt it, that strange distance between you and everyone else. No matter how hard you tried, you never fully belonged. People laughed, lived, and loved around you, but inside, something felt different, something heavier, something extraordinary. What if that feeling wasn't a curse or a mistake? What if Allah was quietly preparing you, shaping you, and choosing you for a destiny far beyond what most can even imagine? The moments of loneliness, the confusion, the sense of being too much for this world, it's all proof. You are not like them, and that is exactly why you were made to rise. From the very beginning, there was always something inside you that refused to fully align with the world around you, no matter how hard you tried to blend in. Because while others were comfortable following trends, chasing approval, and accepting life without questioning it, your heart kept pulling you in a different direction, making you feel out of place in rooms where everyone else felt at home. And instead of understanding this as a gift, you started to see it as a problem, asking yourself why you couldn't just be like everyone else. But the truth rooted deeply in Islam is that Allah does not create every soul the same, and some are given a deeper awareness, a sharper sense of truth, and a heart that refuses to settle for what is fake or temporary, which is why you felt disconnected, not because you were lost, but because your fitra was protecting you from blending into environments that would weaken your soul, and the discomfort you felt was not confusion but guidance, pushing you away from what looks normal to others but is empty in reality. So the illusion you must completely destroy is the belief that you need to belong to be accepted, because the moment you chase belonging, you begin to lose yourself, adjusting your values and silencing your truth just to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. When in reality, your identity is not built in crowds or constant validation, but in solitude, in reflection, and in those quiet moments where you reconnect with Allah and understand who you truly are. And once you accept this, everything changes, because you stop seeing your difference as a weakness and start recognizing it as a sign that you were never created to follow the crowd. You were created to rise above it. When you look back at your life, you will begin to notice a pattern that most people never stop to understand: the rejection you faced, the loneliness that followed you, even in crowded places, the moments you felt misunderstood by people you expected to support you, and the silent battles you fought without anyone truly seeing your struggle were never random events. They were part of a deeper process designed specifically for you, because in Islam, Allah does not test a soul without purpose, and the intensity of your pain was not meant to break you but to prepare you, to strip away your dependence on people, to detach your heart from temporary attachments, and to force you into a level of self-awareness that comfort could never teach. While others were distracted by ease and surface-level living, you were being shaped through hardship, learning lessons that only pain can reveal. And although it felt unfair at times, as if your life was heavier than others, the reality is that pain is often the doorway to purification. It removes illusions, exposes truth, and strengthens your connection with Allah in ways nothing else can. So the mistake would be to see your suffering as punishment, when in reality, it was your initiation, a process that only those chosen for something greater are taken through. Because not everyone can handle depth, not everyone can grow through struggle, and not everyone is willing to face themselves the way you were forced to, which is why your pain was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to rebuild you into someone stronger, more aware, and more aligned with your true purpose. One of the heaviest and most isolating parts of your journey is not just what you've been through, but what you are able to see, feel, and understand that others either ignore or completely miss. Because while most people move through life on the surface, judging by appearances, believing words without questioning intentions, and choosing comfort over truth, you were given a different kind of awareness that doesn't allow you to stay asleep. And this is why you often feel mentally and emotionally exhausted in environments where others seem perfectly fine, because you're not just seeing what is being shown, you're sensing what is hidden. You pick up on fake energy, forced behavior, hidden jealousy, quiet manipulation, and unspoken tension without anyone having to explain it. And this level of perception can make you feel like something is wrong with you, especially when people label you as too sensitive, too deep, or overthinking. But in reality, what they call overthinking is actually your ability to see beyond illusions. And in Islam, this is not a flaw but a form of insight that Allah grants to certain hearts. Because when your connection to truth is strong, your soul naturally becomes uncomfortable with falsehood, no matter how normal it looks to everyone else. And this is why you struggle in conversations that lack depth, relationships that lack sincerity, and environments that are built on pretending, because your ruh, soul, is constantly searching for something real, something meaningful, something aligned with truth. And the more you ignore this awareness, the more restless you feel. But the moment you accept it, everything begins to make sense, because you realize that you were never meant to see life the way most people do. You were meant to see through it, to recognize patterns, to understand people beyond their words, and to protect yourself from situations that could harm your inner peace. And although this awareness can feel like a burden at times, it is actually a form of protection and guidance from Allah. Because once you see the truth, you can no longer be easily deceived, easily manipulated, or easily distracted. And this is exactly why your path feels different. Because you are not living blindly, you are living consciously. And that comes with a weight most people are not willing to carry. So the illusion you must break is the belief that your awareness is a problem, when in reality, it is your advantage, your shield, and your sign that you were created to live with purpose, not just existence. There were moments in your life when you felt deeply confused by how people slowly disappeared, how certain relationships broke without clear reasons, and how no matter how much effort you put into holding on to connections, they still seemed to slip away, leaving you with a heavy feeling of loneliness that made you question your worth and wonder if something was wrong with you. But what you didn't realize at the time is that not every loss is a punishment, and not every ending is a failure. Because in Islam, Allah removes certain people from your life not to hurt you, but to protect you from what you cannot yet see. And this kind of isolation is not abandonment, it is divine intervention, a redirection that pulls you away from environments, mindsets, and people that could slowly damage your soul, your focus, and your purpose, even if on the surface they seemed important to you. And when you study the lives of the prophets, you begin to understand this pattern more clearly. Because even Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, experienced periods of deep isolation, especially in the cave of Hira, where he would withdraw from society to reflect, to disconnect from the corruption around him, and to strengthen his connection with Allah before carrying the weight of his mission. And similarly, Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, was separated from his family, thrown into a well, sold into slavery, and even imprisoned. Not because he was abandoned, but because Allah was guiding him through a path that would eventually elevate him to a position of honor and authority. And these stories are not just history, they are reminders that isolation is often a necessary stage before elevation. Because when you are constantly surrounded by people, noise, and distractions, you lose the ability to hear your inner voice and strengthen your connection with Allah. But when you are alone, you are forced to reflect, to grow, to confront your weaknesses, and to build a level of inner strength that cannot be developed in comfort. And although it feels painful in the moment, especially when you see others enjoying companionship and support, your path requires something deeper, something more solid. Because not everyone is meant to walk with you into your future, and some people are only meant to be part of a chapter, not the entire story. So if Allah removed them, trust that there was a reason beyond your understanding, because what feels like rejection is often protection, what feels like loss is often redirection, and what feels like loneliness is often preparation. And the sooner you accept that your isolation is not a curse, but a carefully designed phase of your journey, the sooner you will stop chasing people who were never meant to stay and start focusing on becoming the person you were always meant to be. There is a weight inside you that you have been carrying for as long as you can remember, a kind of emotional and mental depth that makes life feel more intense, more serious, and sometimes more overwhelming than it seems for everyone else. And while people around you may move through life lightly, laughing easily, ignoring deeper questions, and avoiding uncomfortable truths, you have always felt like you were carrying something more, something you couldn't explain, but could never escape. And this is where most people misunderstand themselves, because they assume that this heaviness is a flaw, a sign that something is wrong with them, when in reality, from an Islamic perspective, this weight is not random, it is assigned because Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear, which means if you are carrying more, it is because you were built for more. And this realization alone changes everything, because it shifts your mindset from "why is my life so hard?" to "why was I trusted with this level of depth?" And when you begin to reflect on your experiences, your struggles, your overthinking, your emotional awareness, and even your sensitivity to truth and falsehood, you start to see that all of it is connected, all of it is shaping you into someone who is capable of understanding life at a level that most people never reach. And this is not something small, because depth is not given to everyone, and responsibility is not placed on every shoulder. And in Islam, those who are given greater awareness and stronger inner capacity are often the ones who are tested the most, not because Allah wants to make their lives difficult, but because He is preparing them for something that requires strength, patience, and clarity. And when you look at the lives of those who were closest to Allah, you begin to see this pattern clearly, because their lives were never easy, their paths were never simple, and their struggles were never light. Yet through that hardship, they reached levels of character, wisdom, and closeness to Allah that others could not even imagine. And this is the part you must understand deeply, because your heaviness is not meant to break you, it is meant to elevate you. It is shaping your mindset, strengthening your patience, and forcing you to develop resilience in a way that comfort never could. And even though it feels lonely at times, especially when you realize that not many people truly understand what you are going through, this loneliness is part of the process, because not everyone is meant to understand your journey, and not everyone is capable of carrying what you carry. And that is why you often feel like you are thinking differently, feeling differently, and living differently, because your path is not average. Your purpose is not small, and your soul was not created for a life of distraction and ease. It was created for growth, for awareness, and for impact. And the more you resist this truth, the more heavy life will feel. But the moment you accept it, the weight begins to transform, because instead of seeing it as a burden, you begin to see it as strength, as something that sets you apart, something that allows you to navigate life with deeper understanding and stronger faith. And this is where the real shift happens, because you stop comparing your life to others, you stop wishing for an easier path, and you start embracing the journey that was written specifically for you, understanding that your struggles are not signs of failure but signs of preparation, and that every challenge you face is building a version of you that is capable of handling greater responsibility, greater purpose, and greater impact. And this is why you must completely destroy the illusion that your life is unfair. Because what looks like difficulty is actually design. What feels like pressure is actually development. And what seems like isolation is actually alignment. And once you internalize this, you begin to move differently. You begin to think differently. And you begin to carry yourself with a quiet strength that does not need validation from anyone, because you understand something most people never realize, that you were given a heavy soul not to suffer endlessly, but to rise beyond limitations, to see beyond illusions, and to walk a path that requires courage, discipline, and unwavering trust in Allah. And the truth is, not everyone could handle your life. Not everyone could survive your thoughts, your awareness, your struggles, and your growth. But you can, because you were chosen to. And that is why your journey feels different, because it is leading you somewhere most people will never reach, a place of strength, clarity, and purpose that can only be built through the very weight you once wished to escape. There was a time when you thought your silence was a weakness, when you compared yourself to people who spoke loudly, expressed everything without hesitation, and dominated every room with their presence, and you wondered why you were not like that, why you chose to observe instead of react, why you held back your words even when you had so much to say. And at times it made you feel invisible, misunderstood, or even powerless. But what you did not realize is that your silence was never a limitation. It was a form of control that most people never develop, because in a world where everyone is constantly speaking, reacting, and exposing their thoughts without thinking, the one who chooses silence holds a different kind of strength, a strength that is rooted in awareness, discipline, and emotional intelligence. And from an Islamic perspective, this is deeply significant, because the control of the tongue is one of the highest forms of self-mastery, as taught through the life and character of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who demonstrated that true strength is not in saying more but in knowing when to remain silent, when to observe, and when to speak with purpose. And when you reflect on your own life, you will notice that your silence has always been connected to your awareness, because you do not just hear words, you analyze them. You do not just see actions, you understand intentions. And this naturally makes you more selective with what you say and how you respond, because you understand that words carry weight, that once something is spoken it cannot be taken back, and that unnecessary al-kalam speech often leads to unnecessary problems. And while others may act on impulse, reacting emotionally to every situation, you take a step back. You process, you think, and this ability separates you in a powerful way because it protects your peace, preserves your energy, and prevents you from being dragged into situations that do not serve your growth. And although people may misunderstand your silence, assuming that you are weak, shy, or unsure, the reality is the opposite, because it takes far more strength to remain silent when you have the ability to speak, especially in moments where your emotions are high, where reacting would be easy but controlled silence requires discipline. And this is where your power lies, because your silence is not emptiness, it is awareness in action. It is the ability to choose your response instead of being controlled by your emotions. And over time, this creates a strong inner stability within you, a sense of control that allows you to move through life with clarity rather than chaos. And this is something most people never achieve, because they are constantly reacting, constantly explaining themselves, constantly seeking validation through words, while you are learning to stand firm without needing to prove yourself. And this is a rare quality, because when you speak less, your words carry more value. When you observe more, your understanding becomes deeper. And when you protect your energy, your presence becomes stronger. And this is why your silence should never be seen as something to fix, but something to refine, because it is already one of your greatest strengths. And the moment you stop doubting it and start embracing it, you begin to notice how much control you actually have over your life, because you are no longer reacting to everything around you. You are choosing what deserves your attention, what deserves your words, and what deserves your silence. And this level of awareness allows you to move with intention rather than impulse, which is the foundation of true power. And in Islam, this aligns deeply with the concept of self-discipline, where a believer is encouraged to speak good or remain silent, to avoid unnecessary al-kalam, and to maintain dignity through control rather than expression. And when you internalize this, your silence transforms from something you once questioned into something you rely on, because you begin to understand that not every battle needs your voice, not every opinion needs to be shared, and not every situation deserves your reaction. And this realization frees you because it removes the pressure to constantly prove yourself, to constantly explain yourself, and to constantly engage with everything around you, allowing you to focus only on what truly matters. And as you continue to grow, you will notice that your silence becomes a shield, protecting you from negativity, from drama, and from distractions that would otherwise drain your energy. And at the same time, it becomes a source of strength because it allows you to think clearly, to act wisely, and to maintain control even in difficult situations. And this is what sets you apart, because while others lose themselves in noise, you find yourself in silence. And this is why your journey requires you to embrace this part of yourself fully, to stop seeing it as something that makes you less, and start recognizing it as something that makes you powerful. Because the truth is, silence is not the absence of strength, it is the presence of control, and the more you master it, the more you realize that real power is not in how much you say, but in how well you choose when to say it. And once you reach this level of understanding, you no longer feel the need to compete with loud voices or seek attention through constant expression, because you know that your strength lies in your awareness, your discipline, and your ability to remain grounded while the world around you moves in chaos. And that is something very few people ever achieve. From the very beginning, your journey was never meant to be ordinary. And the reason you often feel like you are walking alone, like no one truly understands you, is because your path is designed differently, because Allah does not prepare ordinary people for ordinary tasks, and He does not equip ordinary souls with extraordinary responsibilities. And this is why the life of a chosen one always begins with solitude. From the earliest days, you may have noticed that the people around you could never fully grasp your thoughts, your visions, or your feelings, and even when you tried to connect, you were met with misunderstanding, indifference, or even rejection. But this is not a flaw within you, nor is it punishment. It is preparation, a divine arrangement meant to strengthen you, because walking alone teaches you lessons that companionship cannot. Patience, resilience, self-reliance, and above all, reliance on Allah alone. The prophets themselves experienced this truth, and their lives are proof that isolation is not a curse, it is a stage of elevation. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, spent long periods in the cave of Hira, away from the crowd, reflecting, fasting, and seeking guidance from Allah before receiving the weight of the final revelation. And Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, fled into the desert, alone, learning patience, strategy, and reliance on Allah before leading an entire nation. And Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, often withdrew into solitude to pray, to meditate, and to prepare for the divine mission entrusted to him. These examples teach us that isolation is not abandonment, it is refinement. Walking alone forces you to confront the raw truth of who you are. It exposes your weaknesses, magnifies your fears, and challenges your faith. And at first, it feels unbearable, because human nature craves companionship, understanding, and approval. But for the chosen ones, dependence on others is temporary, fleeting, and unreliable. Your guidance, your growth, and your destiny cannot depend on people who are themselves unprepared for the journey. They cannot carry the weight that Allah has placed on your shoulders. You were designed to rely on Him, to listen to His signs, to trust His wisdom, and to find strength in your solitude, because that is the only way a leader, a guide, or a chosen one can be forged. In your silence, your reflection, and your struggle, your character is being sharpened, your perspective is being clarified, and your heart is being aligned with the truth that will one day guide many. Most people fear being alone because they mistake loneliness for failure. But you, as a chosen one, must see it for what it really is, a blessing. It is a divine preparation for leadership, for wisdom, for vision, and for purpose. The moment you stop seeking constant companionship to validate your worth, you begin to understand that the world will not recognize your potential until you first recognize it for yourself. Your solitude trains you in ways that social comfort never can. It teaches discernment, courage, patience, and the ability to act decisively without waiting for someone else to lead, to approve, or to confirm. These are qualities that cannot be learned in crowds, in noise, or through approval. They are forged in the quiet struggles of a soul who chooses to trust Allah and embrace the path He has uniquely designed for them. Walking alone is heavy. It is challenging. You will face days when the weight of understanding, of awareness, and of purpose feels unbearable. And in those moments, you will wonder why others do not see what you see, why they do not feel what you feel, why the world seems too shallow, too distracted, too blind. But this is exactly what it means to be chosen. You are seeing the world not as it appears to ordinary eyes, but as it truly is beneath the illusions, and that vision is your gift and your responsibility. The more you embrace your uniqueness, the more your heart will understand that leadership is not a matter of popularity, comfort, or being surrounded by followers. It is a matter of character, wisdom, and inner strength. And all of these are developed in the moments when you feel most alone. Your isolation is a training ground, a forge for your soul, and a preparation for the role Allah has destined for you. You will face challenges, tests, and betrayals that others will not survive. But these are not punishments. They are refining fires designed to remove weakness, indecision, and attachment to false comfort. Your patience will grow, your perspective will widen, your connection to Allah will deepen, your empathy will sharpen, your clarity of vision will emerge, and when the time comes, when Allah wills it, you will step into your purpose fully, and those who once could not understand you will be amazed at the strength, wisdom, and leadership you carry, because you have walked alone, but you have never truly been abandoned. You were never alone. Allah has always been with you, guiding, shaping, and preparing you to carry what others cannot. So the truth is simple, and it is profound. Your solitude is not a punishment, your difference is not a flaw, and your journey is not ordinary. You are walking alone so that one day you can lead with unmatched clarity, courage, and wisdom. You are being prepared for responsibilities that others cannot bear, for vision that others cannot see, and for a mission that others cannot accomplish. And the sooner you embrace your isolation, accept your path, and trust Allah fully, the sooner you will awaken to the magnitude of your purpose, because every step you have taken in solitude has been a step toward greatness, and every moment of being misunderstood has been a moment of preparation, forging a leader who is ready not just to survive, but to rise, to guide, and to illuminate the path for others, exactly as Allah intended. Your loneliness is not emptiness, it is your classroom. Your struggles are not meaningless, they are your training. Your silence is not weakness, it is your power. And one day, the world will see what you have been building quietly, patiently, and faithfully. For those chosen to walk alone are always destined to rise above, lead with wisdom, and shine with a light that was nurtured in the quiet, unseen hours of solitude. Conclusion: embrace your chosen path. Now you understand the truth that has been hidden in plain sight all along. You were never ordinary, you were never meant to fit in, and you were never walking a path designed for comfort. Every moment of isolation, every struggle, every pain, every sense of being different was not a punishment, it was preparation. Allah has been shaping you, testing you, and strengthening you in ways that only the chosen ones can endure. Your awareness, your depth, your silence, your struggles, and even your loneliness are all part of a divine plan to elevate you, to sharpen your soul, and to prepare you for a purpose far greater than you can see now. Do not waste energy trying to blend in, seeking validation from those who cannot understand you, or chasing temporary comfort. Instead, embrace your difference, honor your journey, and recognize that every trial was designed to awaken the leader, the guide, and the chosen one within you. Your life is a sign, a message, and a preparation for something only Allah knows. And the moment you stop seeing yourself as alone, misunderstood, or weak, and start seeing yourself as chosen, prepared, and elevated, you will step into a reality that few ever reach. You are not lost, you are not broken, you are not ordinary, you are chosen, you are being shaped. And one day, everything you endured, everything you observed, and everything you survived will make sense, because the world will need your strength, your clarity, and your wisdom. So rise. Trust Allah. Embrace your path. Walk it with courage. And know that being chosen is not about comfort, it is about purpose, responsibility, and destiny. You were born different, and that difference is your power.